Hi guys, so it seems that Brexiteers like Andrew Neil are not angry over Brexit, they're angry over the type of Brexit that was delivered. Neil wrote this article in the pro-Tory, pro-Brexit Mail, and I'll leave a link in the description if you want to read it. But let's dive into some of the insanity contained within. So just that you know, Andrew Neil is somebody who was happy to end freedom of movement for others while living in France. Anyway, I won't quote the article verbatim, but here are some interesting parts. He opens with, "Surely it cannot have been the intention of those who fought so long and hard to take Britain out of the European Union to make Brexit Britain more like Europe. That would be too ridiculous for words." So this is pretty much the theme of his article, the idea that government should not look after its people. However, the European Union prides itself on creating services for citizens, be it in projects that provide funding in local communities. It has over the last number of decades strengthened worker protections. Of course, these need to be implemented by member states, but that's another story. It has increased safety standards and the quality of products we consume, be it consumer goods or the food we eat. Andrew Neil is against all of this. He then says, "The continental economies of Europe are notorious for saddling their workers not only with high income taxes, but erroneous supplementary social charges in order to pay for generous health and welfare benefits. This is now our direction of travel too. From next April, national insurance contributions for both employers and employees will rise 1.25%, supposedly to pay for social care and the always cash-thirsty NHS. This is a typical narrow Brexiteer view, not just of Europe but of the world. Brexiteers view the EU as almost like a country, and they will point to problems in, for example, Italy or France or the Netherlands and claim that these are European-wide issues, when they're not. When it comes to tax, for example, countries like Denmark and Estonia are at the extremes. Once again, something Brexiteers don't understand. I get it. Andrew Neil is well off. He doesn't want to either pay tax, or it seems he certainly doesn't want his taxes going to those worse off in society. The rise in national insurance contributions is to fix the problems both of Brexit and the pandemic. It has been sold as a solution to the resourcing problems faced by social care, yes, but Brexit just makes things worse, as the Exchequer will have less revenue over the coming years, and the burden will fall on those working. Not so much people living in France, though. Another problem is with fewer migrants living and working in Britain post-Brexit, along with an ageing population, something eventually will give. When it comes to the environment, he also has problems. He says, "Boris Johnson's government is a cheerleader for the net zero carbon emissions by 2050, and he has made levelling up to the poorer north with the richer south its core mission. Forcing us to go green and moving resources around the country will, by definition, require massive state intervention, and that spells yet higher taxes and bigger government. It doesn't get more European than that. Dealing with climate change requires massive investment both on a local level and a national one. What would Neil prefer us to do? Nothing? Look, Andrew Neil is 72 years old. Any measures to deal with the environment, be them higher taxes, will have little or no impact on him. But also with the impact of climate change. This is someone who is more concerned with hoarding cash than looking after future generations, it seems." Now, it isn't just rhetoric, but Brexit lies too. He says, "Probably the biggest Brexit win was using our newfound independence to approve and procure COVID vaccines and start their rollout, without waiting for the EU's sluggish regulatory process to grind into action." This is pretty low grade for Andrew Neil, a true fall from grace. I can get the anti-European rhetoric when it comes to tax and stuff, because he clearly doesn't believe in supporting those less well off as he, but to lie about Brexit in this way is somewhat beneath someone who's held up as an example journalist. I have debunked this crap to death, and I'm not going to waste your time on it again. No Brexiteer article would be complete without misrepresenting Remainers, so he attacks Remainers here, making claims and I don't see any evidence to back them up. He says, "But Remainers got it so wrong too. I remember George Osborne telling me on air that Airbus would likely up sticks and leave. It's still here, investing more than ever. The boss of the London Stock Exchange predicted the City of London would lose over 200,000 jobs. In fact, at most 7,500 jobs left for European financial centres, dwarfed by the hundreds of thousands of extra jobs created in finance since the referendum. We were told to expect recession and mass unemployment. Brexit caused neither. Notice he ignores the fact that there's a shortage of workers. Anyway, so when Brexiteers say Remainers said, it is usually more likely Remainers pointed to. And this was someone in a particular industry issuing a warning. Remainers cited business leaders like Nissan saying X may happen if the UK leaves. They never said X will happen. I think Neil is confusing Remainers and Brexiteers here. Brexiteers made promises and delivered none, but Remainers are at fault if some of these warnings weren't as bad as expected. Of course, the pandemic has shielded Britain from the worst of Brexit, and something that Neil forgets is that Brexit has just begun. What's very interesting about this article is that Andrew Neil on no occasion indicates how Brexit will actually help people. It may benefit some financial institutions, bankers and hedge fund managers, but Brexit was sold by people like Neil as a benefit for the average man and woman on the street. Their lives would be better. In no part of this article has Neil actually given a tangible example of how Brexit was helping people who voted for it. I recommend you check out the article. I've left a link in the description. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.